classes. I got cut from the varsity basketball team. I failed in relationships. Like, I'm not here because of my academic achievement and I was involved and I was this. I'm here because of my life experience. One of my favorite quotes that carries me through everything and will continue to do so is by Winston Churchill. And it says that success is not final and failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that truly counts. And so I continued and I survived, and then I realized, you know what? Dang it, I can thrive. I can do this. And so yeah, I continually fail all the time. And actually, to talk about one of the projects, the 2,000 square foot project in San Francisco is actually no longer happening because we had some difficulties. So there are things that happen and projects that fall through, and doors that close and other doors that open. And then along with that, I guess I could share a story of rejection because I think rejection is one that definitely cuts pretty deep, the feeling of not being enough. And in this past year, I went to meet my birth dad, who lives in Brazil, and I had never met him before. I was a year ago, I was 22, and I flew to Brazil, and I was studying there, and I met him for the first time. And not to just focus on the bad, because I was welcomed. He picked me up at the airport. I ended up living with my grandparents for a time. But I experienced a lot of rejection. His parents and all my family didn't know that I existed. So surprise, like, here I am, 22 years later. And I thought it was all fun and games when I went to get a makeover before I met my family. And then I realized when I was asked, why don't you wear lipstick? Why are you a vegetarian? On the last night I was there, my grandpa was saying, why are we even going out to eat? She doesn't eat anything. Why, something really bizarre, why do I carry my water bottle around? That's embarrassing. Why don't I wear high heels? Why all of these different things? And then I felt, my 15-year-old and 16-year-old self of being like, not enough. And I was so vulnerable and I was so hurt because I wanted these people to accept me. I wanted them to love me. Of course. And I finally just said, no, this is who I am, and you can either take it or leave it. So I wrote him a letter, my birth dad, and I said, you're not allowed to talk to me about these things anymore. You're not allowed to talk to me about my weight, my hair, my makeup, what I'm doing with my life. Like, you either take it or leave it. So I think encouraging all of us to just know that we're enough, and we all go through those trials and tribulations, just to know that we're like not alone, and that we're enough. It's a powerful thing.
Again, I have a real issue with anxiety and depression. I had a really rough time as a kid, and many times didn't want to be here anymore. And so it was this art therapy that really saved my life. That and finding the right medication really saved my life. And so every time I make an art piece, every time we create a card from that, every time we make a saying from a quote that's read, it's like putting a piece of myself out there to somebody every single time. And in the beginning it was very difficult, but what I've chosen to do as part of my journey, similar in effect to you, is this is my story, and if I can help one person, I've done my job. And by sharing myself, I was on a couple of different shows and written in some things that were pretty substantial, and people said, I said, the only way I will do it is if you let me tell my story, because I want people to know that there's a reason that I'm doing this. It's not just because I make cool art, it's because everything has beauty, no matter how damaged it is. And if I can help somebody start seeing themselves for what they're worth, I've done my job. And it heals me. At the end of the day, it really heals me. So, as we've done that, we've actually brought in people who, and my goal is to build a workforce with people with depression and anxiety. We have a couple of guys who've had a really rough go of it. They're working with us now. They're rebuilding their lives. They're building furniture. They're building things. But we're kind of rebuilding and building things together. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a failure. I'd say there's more failure from the beginning, and it's an ongoing battle that I have, ongoing. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I say, do a good thing.
You know, I think everyone just goes through rejection throughout life. You know, we all end up learning how to deal with it. It hurts, but you know, you get over it. And the failures are bigger, especially with business, because you put your whole self into it. It's your livelihood. And sometimes things work, and sometimes they don't. And that happens to me all the time. And with Baracha, we come up with products, and some of them are great, and some of them fail miserably. And you don't know about most of them because they failed. But the effort is always still there. I mean, and same thing with Granada. It is a constant evolution because I'll have an idea for something and I throw it out there and truly 100% believe it's going to work, and then it doesn't, and then you say, okay, let's stop that and start doing something else. And so I think the workshop is a big example. We tried making this wine production facility in San Luis Obispo. I believed 100% in the concept of really focusing on artisan production in San Luis as a way to build our wine community into something greater and something more unique in San Luis. And we overcame so many of the challenges that we had with the neighbors, the city, and then the business was just financially not viable. And we fell in love with it completely and had to say goodbye to it. And it sucked, It wasn't the greatest day, but we've all moved past it. And I think you just have to realize that it's okay to fail. And it's okay to go through rejection.